Colorado Bureau of Investigation, data shows rise in violent crimes in Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs' cost of living surges to 23-year high.
Rising angst over problems with homeless population.
So Colorado Springs, like every city, has some major cons. Hopefully the intro was dramatic enough for you. I personally grew up in Colorado Springs and moved away for a while and came back and wanted to go over kind of my personal reasoning as to why I'm currently staying in Colorado Springs despite some of the major cons. That way, if you're moving to the area, you can get a better sense of if it's right for you. If you're new to the channel, my name is Ben, and in this channel we go over what it's like to live and move to Colorado Springs. Also, I am a realtor, so if you are getting some value, go ahead and give us a call or a text. But really, in today's video, I wanted to just be a little bit more personal with you guys and go over exactly why I moved back to Colorado Springs and why I'm staying. So a little bit of a backstory to kind of set the stage. I personally, like I mentioned, grew up in Colorado Springs, kind of spent most of my formative years here, and then moved away to Northwest Arkansas to go to college at a small little town. And after college, I ended up moving back to Colorado Springs for a bit, where then my wife and I decided to move to Florida for 2 years, and then after 2 years, decided to move back. While we were in Tampa, we met a realtor, also via YouTube, we ended up actually becoming business partners with, and really liked it there, but kind of wanted to apply some of the knowledge that we gained from that experience and apply it to Colorado and kind of what we knew best, the area. So my initial reasoning for moving back was technically business, kind of say that up front. And when we moved back from Florida, we were honestly initially a little bit sad. We kind of got accustomed to beach life in Florida and really was thinking of Colorado Springs in a negative light, believe it or not. After about a year here, I can happily say I'm really glad we made the decision. Business aside, just being in the area again, kind of getting to experience Colorado Springs kind of in a new light has definitely kind of changed my opinion on things. So I want to go over first though some cons as to Colorado Springs. So the biggest one is the cost of living. Compared to where it used to be, Colorado Springs is now about 7% over the national average, and it costs around $500,000 to buy the kind of average or median house here in the area. And just kind of looking online, trying to find some commonalities of what people say the cons of the area are, I think this one is kind of at the forefront. Additionally, if you're someone who battles with like seasonal depression, Colorado Springs can be a little bit tough in the winter. And that's not necessarily Colorado specific, that's a lot of places, but compared to places like Florida, where it is kind of more sunny all year round, that can be an issue. And that's something my wife and I have personally dealt with a little bit. And it also does feel like almost every summer there's some fire, whether it's in California or nearby, that causes it to be smoky during the summer, which I feel like isn't necessarily talked about all that often. And just in general, the infrastructure is struggling a little bit to keep up with the demand for the area as the city is growing quite a bit. And this is by no means like an exhaustive list of all the cons. If you do want to hear more on some of the cons of Colorado Springs, I do have another video that I made here. But switching gears, personally, the reasons on why I'm enjoying Colorado Springs more than I did kind of growing up in the area is for a couple different reasons. So the first is just the fact that there are so many outdoor activities to do here. And if you're not taking part in some of these, the area can feel a little bit expensive and not worth it almost. So this kind of go around, my wife and I have done a little bit more traveling than in the past, and definitely not as much as we should be, but it does make it quite a bit more enjoyable when you actually are getting out and going to do things. And there's just a good balance of things to do for the cost. I know I mentioned that the cost is one of the major cons, but if you want a major city like Denver or something, where there's technically more to do, the housing prices are gonna come at a huge cost. It's gonna be about 20% more in Denver. And in Colorado Springs, personally, I think there are still plenty of things to do while not coming at the most expensive as it could be. And that's gonna be personal on, you know, what you like to do. So if you're like super into the food scene and want like tons of like Michelin star restaurants, Colorado Springs is probably gonna be a little bit lacking for you. But living in a mid-sized metro, which Colorado Springs is, you're still going to have a lot of the amenities, but maybe just not quite as much. And the balance of kind of things to do and cost for us personally just kind of makes sense. And another thing we really noticed in Colorado Springs was just the friendliness of the people. I feel like I've said Colorado Springs like 50 times in this video, so I apologize. But the people here just tend to be a little bit friendlier than some other places that we've lived, like Florida and Texas. And looking up just like some general lists to confirm my suspicions, it does seem to check out. So who knows how this list was kind of created, but apparently Colorado in general is the 7th friendliest state. And I think a lot of that is to do with just kind of how healthy people are here. So Colorado Springs is gonna have like the lowest obesity rates, and maybe it's not 100% like correlated with the friendliness kind of level, but in my mind, probably it has something to do with that, just because the better you feel, generally the friendlier you're gonna be. And honestly, the weather here is also, for me, a major pro. You don't have like the super biting cold with places that are humid and cold. So it's really dry here, which kind of makes it a little bit more bearable in the winter. And it doesn't snow as much as maybe you would think, at least here in Colorado Springs. So average snowfall is around 55 inches a year, and it melts off super fast. So maybe it's just because I'm kind of used to driving in the snow, but typically it's not a super big issue. Now, you're gonna have to get used to shoveling snow if you're not already, but the way that we do have 4 distinct seasons, for me, is really nice. And I kind of got a little bit over the kind of homogeneous, just warm in Florida. So if you're like me, you like 4 seasons, Colorado Springs might be for you. And kind of similar to the first point, there's tons of outdoor activities, not just in Colorado Springs, but nearby. So if you want to go on a couple hour road trip, or you can go up into the mountains pretty quickly, you can go to Golden or Boulder or Vail or a bunch of these other places, Grand Lake, the Great Sand Dunes, Estes Park. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But it's super manageable to take day trips up to cool places and explore different areas while still kind of being in a spot where you get the mountains right in front of you. It's super pretty, but then you don't have to pay mountain town prices. And honestly, being back in Colorado Springs just kind of gives me personally some life where I can go at the end of a hard day and hike up into the mountains, or go on a nice beautiful run, where other places might be a little bit harder to do that, or you're suffocated by the humidity. So I'm kind of making this comparing like Florida almost to Colorado Springs, but that's more so just because where I just came from. So for me, I just find it easier to get out and actually enjoy things. That's pretty much the synopsis, and those are kind of some of the reasonings as to why I'm personally enjoying Colorado Springs and why I've moved back and decided to stay. And if you're local watching, let us know in the comments some of your pros and cons of living in the area and why you're personally staying. And as always, if you've made it this far in the video, go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.